All right, when you're talking about Homer, the fact is what we're talking about is the New Testament scholars today, the critical scholars at the top of the list all around the world, they're using it as a book like ancient history. Does it have historical facts that we can back up with evidence that says this actually happened, okay? And we're talking about last week, why is Paul the darling of skeptics like Bart Ehrman, who's an atheist, okay? And he says a lot of great things that we're going to talk about here about the Apostle Paul. In fact, they give you, out of the 13 books in the New Testament that Paul wrote, how many will they say that they will give as being authoritative?
Always 7 minimum, and always the same 7.
Which are?
Which are Romans, 1 Corinthians, Galatians. Then we have Philippians, 1 Thessalonians, and Philemon. So those 7 books. And if you're a doctoral dissertation and you have critical people on your committee and they don't believe the same way you do, they'll let you use those books across the board. That doesn't mean that they're going to agree with everything those verses say, but they think they're good territory. This man's authoritative, basically has a PhD in Old Testament. He knew the right people, the right place, right time, and wouldn't lie. That's really key. I always remember, you mentioned Antony Flew, the very famous.
For 40 years, he was the world's foremost philosophical atheist. And you debated him a number of times, and one time right on the program, we're going to show a clip of that coming up.
Yeah, and he and I would be talking, and he'd say, Paul was a first-rate philosophical mind, and Jesus, I'm not sure why the difference, but he would say Jesus was a first-class ethicist. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'd say, and then off air, I said, no, where do you get that? Where do you get Paul's a first-rate philosopher? And he said, have you ever read the book of Romans? He said it's a one argument from start to finish. The guy was smart. He knew how to put an argument together. Right. And of course, for Jesus, he went to the Sermon on the Mount. So you use the general arguments for when is a person ethically minded, smart, been to school, studied under, and that's what they see in the Apostle Paul.